Bleach is the perfect combination of a serious, captivating plot, unique, interesting characters, fantastic action, and hilarious comic relief. While the initial panels make Bleach seem as if it's just going to be another run-of-the-mill tale of a ruffian teenager being the biggest badass in Karakura Town, it reveals itself to be so much more. The Substitute arc, both in the anime with its 20 episodes and the manga with its 70 chapters, is an exceptional example of not just character introductions, but world building. Very quickly, we learn that ghosts, as well as humans that can see ghosts, exist. These ghosts can be attacked by or themselves turned into monsters, what we know as hollows, the result of human souls, or pluses, who lose their hearts to sadness, regret, or despair, and wander around the human world instead of crossing over to the Soul Society. Soul Reapers, Shinigami, are spiritual beings that are entrusted with protecting and inevitably sending the straggling ghosts to the afterlife, while coincidentally being tasked to kill the monstrous hollows, cleansing these spirits who have been overcome with despair and regret and sending them back to the Soul Society as well. Or for the particular case of truly wicked souls, hell. While world building is important, don't get me wrong, I was and am fascinated with the whole world and world rules that Tite Kubo created. What truly hooked me to Bleach during the beginnings of the story, the characters. Bleach takes its time with character introductions, which seems to be a common complaint I've come across in reference to the early episodes and chapters of Bleach. Yes, there are quite a bit of new character introductions going on, yet Kubo slowly introduces each main character of the Substitute Shinigami arc in this fantastic format that is a mix between Monster of the Week and Character Spotlight. Orihime's introduction and background story playing out as a perfect example of this, as I actually believe her little mini arc about her dead brother turning hollow and attempting to kill her due to his sadness could easily work as a one-off horror film, not even directly related to Bleach. A topic I plan to cover, along with many more, in future videos. What I find interesting is that the Substitute arc has so many themes to dig into. Yes, Ichigo Kurosaki is Bleach's main protagonist, but the characters that share the spotlight with him during the Substitute arc include an ensemble of very important, relatable, and interesting main characters. In future arcs, we are introduced to dozens and dozens of additional characters that fit into this main character ensemble, and believe me, I'll tackle that issue of too many characters in future videos. But as for the introduction to our main cast in this arc, Ichigo Kurosaki, Rukia Kuchiki, Orihime Inoue, Yasutora Chad Sado, and Oryu Ishida. The consumer is able to take some time to get to know each character almost parallelly with Ichigo, as he develops and strengthens his friendships with them and the group as a whole with each other, a perfect strategy used by Kubo to hook a new audience. As in Bleach's case, and obviously my opinion, this works so much better than simply throwing out there that, hey, these guys are already all best friends, and what do you know, these best friends just so all happen to gain superpowers. What luck? Way more convincing and satisfying arrangement is how Bleach handles these high schoolers gaining powers. Some of Ichigo's classmates, and mind you not his best friends Keigo or Mizuro, had dormant spiritual powers awakened due to Ichigo's almost endless amount of flowing and leaking spiritual energy. But it's not just simply being around Ichigo or the interactions with hollows that release Chad or Orihime's power. It's their heroic deeds, wanting to protect others, whether it be friends, Orihime with Tatsuki, or simply a younger child, Chad and Karen. We very quickly learn that the main cast of Bleach are all generally kind-hearted and all-around good people, which is why it's so easy to get behind and root for them. Ichigo especially, as we very quickly learn that he isn't this delinquent teen, but actually quite the opposite, as he's been bullied and literally beat up through his childhood simply for the color of his hair. Ichigo Kurosaki. Ichigo Kurosaki is not just a normal 15-year-old high school student, unless you know someone who just so happens to also possess the ability to see ghosts and interact with them. No, Ichigo isn't looking to be the strongest fighter in the world or to become Hokage. Ichigo just wants to get through life. As mentioned earlier, we first meet Ichigo as he's doing the beating and some bullying himself, yet the reveal is interesting. Ichigo is not just fighting them because he's acting tough for street cred, but he's actually this teen with a caring heart, with his own, maybe suspect, way of justice. You see, Ichigo is beating on these kids because they knocked over a vase of flowers left as an offering for a child who recently died in the area, a child whose ghost Ichigo just so happens to see and converse with. Many times throughout the Substitute Shinigami arc, we see Ichigo show heart and compassion to both those he cares about and also the wandering spirits of Karakura Town. He cares deeply for his sisters, literally breaking the bonds of Rukia's Sai-binding Kido spell by sheer force of will, so he could protect his father and sisters. Time and time again, we are shown that Ichigo puts others' safety above his own, and no, not just his family. At first, no, He's not interested in self-sacrifice for the sake of people he doesn't know, and I don't necessarily blame Ichigo for that initial perspective. Remember, Ichigo is a 15-year-old kid who just had his mind blown learning about the existence of Soul Reapers, Hollows, and Soul Society. Combine that with the emergence of his own Soul Reaper powers, and I'm reminded of another hero, Spider-Man. Ichigo is Spider-Man. During this rewatch, that's what I was thinking. Ichigo is Spider-Man once he makes a deal with Rukia to continue doing the job of a Soul Reaper while Rukia is still powerless. I'm no Marvel or comic book expert, but hear me out here. Ichigo is a high school student that's still learning and growing, both mentally and physically. He's dealing with real high school shit, girls and grades, all while attempting to fit in his own way at least. Hell, just look how he freaks out after Kan kisses Orihime, which ruins his image, an image that he's been working on building for years, no less. Ichigo's front may be of this delinquent with a scary face, but that's all it is, a front. Underneath Ichigo Kurosaki is a kind-hearted soul who cares about the safety of others. His fate practically sealed from birth, as his name means one who protects. It's a fitting name for one of his character. And underneath all of this, Ichigo is a superhero Soul Reaper, fighting to take down the evils of the world. Well, at least Karakura Town. Ichigo protects not only his friends and family, but all residents, both dead and alive. And remember, defeating Hollows also sends them to Soul Society, so even that act of killing is a weird act of heroism in itself. High school student by day, saving the residents of Karakura Town by night. It's very easy to see the parallels to the origins of Spider-Man and Peter Parker growing up as a student, at least for me. Compassion. Ichigo has compassion. Look at the introduction to Kan, the Mod Soul. Kan basically takes Ichigo's body for a joyride, not only ruining his reputation at school, but showing off his superhuman leg abilities in front of people, creating quite a ruckus and problem for Ichigo, as well as physically damaging Ichigo's body by attempting to fight Hollows he has no chance at beating. Yet, when Urahara releases Kan from Ichigo's body and proclaims to destroy the defective soul, and not detective soul, Ichigo thanks Rukia for saving Kan. He doesn't want to see him, for the lack of a better word, die, after hearing his whole story about how the Soul Society created Mod Souls, but decided to scrap the idea and destroy them all. The tragic fate of the Mod Souls, along with Kan's proclamation that he will never kill, resonates with Ichigo. He feels both bad for Kan, as well as just doesn't want to see him destroyed. The same goes for Ichigo's interaction with Don Kanonji. Ichigo is worried about, first of all, the results of Kanonji's actions, endangering the people who are near the hospital for the filming of his TV show, but also for his safety. Kanonji, of course, refuses, as he is a hero and must be one for the children. But this is an interesting turning point for Ichigo, as I feel this is the first time he realizes that he doesn't have to do this Soul Reaper job of protecting others alone. Kanonji actually has some power and manages to set Ichigo free from being stuck from the Hollow's ability. Ichigo starts to learn over the course of the rest of this arc, from this point on, the importance of camaraderie, even if he was demoted. Camaraderie. Ichigo finally starts to understand this concept during the Hollow killing contest with Uryu Ishida. Well, at first it's just for the sake of survival and destroying all the Hollows, but he comes to realize that he can't do everything himself. A theme further reinforced later by Urahara, that Ichigo is not strong enough to go to Soul Society to save Rukia. He'd be going straight to his death. But I digress. The concept of camaraderie is enforced when Urahara's crew shows up to take care of the normal Hollows, so Ichigo and Uryu can focus on the Menos Grande that ripped through the sky. Of course, Ichigo still has quite a bit to learn here, as Uryu devises a pretty solid plan once he notices that Ichigo's spirit energy can actually boost his own Quincy bow and arrow powers. Ichigo still decides to go after the Menos Grande by himself, and while amazingly he is successful, he still may have died due to his uncontrollable flow of spiritual energy. Uryu steps in and reinforces to Ichigo that camaraderie is the way, as he takes it upon himself to shoot away Ichigo's overflowing spirit energy, even to the detriment of his own body. We see this concept played at an extreme when Ichigo fights Renji for Rukia's sake. Rukia is Ichigo's friend, and he won't let her be taken away like this. She did nothing wrong. Unfortunately, as we know, Ichigo ultimately loses due to being very easily outclassed by Byakuya Kuchiki, Rukia's captain brother. Ichigo is only spared death due to Rukia's quick thinking, where she convinces her brother to let Ichigo simply bleed out and die on his own. He's not worth the extra stroke. Let the scum bleed out for his actions against Soul Reapers and a captain. But that is not the end of Ichigo Kurosaki, for as we know, Urahara saves Ichigo, heals and trains him, not only to gain his lost Soul Reaper powers back, but to strengthen them as well. But credit given to Ichigo for not becoming a Hollow and finally hearing Zagetsu's name in the whole process. Ichigo needs to save his friend Rukia from a death sentence. He's going to do the unthinkable and is ready to run into Soul Society and save Rukia himself. because that's what you do for friends. As we know, Ichigo is joined by Chad, Orihime, and Uryu, along with their cat guide Yurichi. The former committed to saving their friend Rukia, and Uryu is tagging along as he's now ready for a rematch against Soul Reapers. What better way to do this than to run into Soul Society itself? These sequences that lead up to the end of the Substitute arc were all very important for the viewer or reader, as they established camaraderie, but also the power of friendship, which I find to be the most important theme of early Bleach. Ichigo, Chad, and Orihime very selflessly put themselves in harm's way for the sake of their friends, and in Chad's case, pretty much anyone. The younger sister of his friend, and let's not forget Shibata, the soul who was inside the talking parakeet. Despite attracting physical harm to himself, Chad protects those who are weaker than him. He was gifted this big strong body, he needs to use it to protect people. Chad initially takes this to an extreme, refusing to fight back. When he finally accepts that you sometimes need to fight to protect, we see the awakening of his abilities. I will dig deeper into Chad, Orihime, and Uryu, among others in upcoming future videos on the Substitute and Soul Society arcs. Ichigo was my main focus, as he is undoubtedly the main character of Bleach. In this initial arc of Bleach, we see a ton of growth. Personal growth, both within Ichigo, his Soul Reaper powers, but also his view of the world and sense of duty. Ichigo wants to keep Ruki's Soul Reaper powers for a bit longer so he can get stronger and protect all the people from Hollows. Friendships and relationships start to develop and even grow between Orihime, Chad, and even Uryu, and maybe most importantly, Rukia. Ichigo doesn't have to put his life in danger for her sake, but he doesn't think twice about it. Rukia is his friend, so he will use his newly acquired power to go save her. These character developments were really what hooked me on Bleach, especially since Ichigo, as well as the rest of the cast, feel like real people. They deal with pain, grief, love, and friendship. I mentioned superheroes and Spider-Man specifically. If Ichigo were more like Superman, I don't think I'm making this video. An all-powerful being that can't be beat, even though they stand for justice, simply isn't that interesting to me. Early Bleach is relatable, and that's why I love it so much.